Hey, and welcome. We are three families who come together to help each other grow in our faith, family, homesteading, and whatever else life throws our way. Join us on this journey as we sow and grow together.
Hi guys, Cassie Garcia here with Sow and Grow Together. I just want to take a little bit of time and talk to you about something called digestive bitters. It's something I've more recently learned about and been looking into. Found just really interesting. I thought I'd share with you. So first I want to start by saying I am not a doctor. I am not your doctor. Please don't take any of what I have to say as medical advice for you or your children or anyone. I am just a mom who is trying to find a natural and effective way to help my family in the day-to-day things that we're dealing with. And if you have kids or family or, even yourself, I'm sure you've had some issues with digestive health, whether that's bathroom problems, going too much, not going enough, just upset stomach, and gut health is related to so many other things. It's related to your immune health, it's related to your mental health, and all kinds of host of other things, and how your body processes nutrients. All these things that are just crucial for life are related to the health of your gut. So super important. And there are so many things you can be doing as far as probiotics, prebiotics, good nutrition, eliminating or cutting out some sugars and carbs and things like that that feed the bad stuff in your gut. There's just so many things you can be doing. If you've heard the term digestive bitters, it might be because of a new trend coming in. It's not really a new trend as much as an old, tried and true trend that's kind of coming back around and being spoken of again. So let's talk about digestive bitters and what that means. Digestive bitters are a food compound. It's found in plants, so roots, bark, the leaves of some plants, berries, all those kinds of things, different ones. There are specific plants that have a compound in them that we're referring to as digestive bitters. The purpose of them is to stimulate things in your gut that you need to work efficiently. So things that should already be there, it's stimulating more of them or them to be more active, like digestive enzymes, bile, just things, the digestion in general in your gut to be more effective. Bitter, literally. Digestive bitters are bitter. They can be sour, but they usually have kind of a bitter, sharp taste. And actually even just the taste sensation of something bitter in your mouth can have this effect of you taste something bitter in your mouth, sending a signal to your brain, which is signaling your gut to start revving everything up to get ready to digest whatever is getting ready to come its way. If you take some digestive bitters beforehand, or during your meal, or after your meal, before might give you a little bit of a head start. Then your digestive system is a little bit prepared for what's coming its way. This might be why, if you're a coffee drinker like I am, if you have your morning coffee, it might actually trigger your morning trip to the bathroom, because that coffee has enough of a bitter taste that can even trigger it. But what if you're talking about kids or people that don't drink coffee? They may need something else. And actually, coffee probably shouldn't be your only option as a digestive bitter, even though it can be a bitter taste that can trigger that. You can actually eat bitters like dandelion greens or arugula or things like that. You can put in your salad. You can mix it in with other things so your whole salad's not bitter. There's all kinds of things like that you can include in your diet as you're eating to add digestive bitters. Another way to get digestive bitters in you is by making an infusion, which is like a strong tea, basically. You would put the plant into some water, some hot water, and let it steep like tea and leave it for a long time. Make sure it's really good and strong, and then you would sip on maybe a glass of that throughout the day or before your meal and take it that way. There are some other things you can add to those to help improve the taste. But the way I am going to talk to you about getting your digestive bitters today is through a tincture. And this is where you will put all of the ingredients in, all the plants that you want to use, and put it in a jar or some kind of container, preferably glass, is a good option. I like these giant mason jars. You can use smaller ones. And then putting an alcohol and letting it soak in there for a period of time. And I'm going to tell you why I like that. But really, I just want to lay this out with plants in general. When you're talking about herbalism or improving your health with plants, don't overthink it. Just go out and eat a plant and you're going to get the benefits. The benefit of a tincture is I can take all the things that I want to use, I can put it in some alcohol, and it will extract. If you've ever made vanilla, you just soak the vanilla beans in an alcohol, and after a period of time, it extracts that vanilla flavor that we love, and we can use it for cooking. This is the same kind of concept. So vodka is my go-to choice for tinctures. It is flavorless, it's simple, you can get the cheap stuff. The only thing to consider is what proof it is, what percentage of alcohol, because it will have water as well as alcohol in it, and how strong it is will determine its usefulness for you. In this particular tincture that I'm making, I'm using fresh ingredients a little bit. I'm using fresh dandelion root and fresh orange peel. I have not dehydrated these, so this will be adding a little bit of moisture to my tincture. So in that case, I want to make sure that I have at least 30% alcohol. This is 40%. I just got it at Sam's Club. It was fairly cheap. I don't remember, and I keep some of this on hand. Like I said, I use it to make vanilla extract. We use it to make some elderberry tinctures that are good for immune health, but this one we're going to use for our Digestive Bitters tincture. So I've got a 40% alcohol, and then another benefit of this is as it's extracting the different compounds in all of the plant material that I'm putting in here, the water will extract certain things and the alcohol component will extract other things. So this is a really good mix of that to really get different kinds of compounds and chemicals, good chemicals, natural things that are in these plants that we want to use. And another benefit of using the alcohol in a tincture is that it is shelf stable. I don't have to refrigerate it. I don't have to worry about it going out of date really quickly. So that's a really good benefit. And that's why I'm going with a tincture today. Once it's done, it will take 6 to 8 weeks of soaking in the alcohol before it's ready to use. I will strain everything out and put it in dropper bottles. Then I'll be using maybe a full dropper full for an adult, maybe a half or a third for a child, and if the child was smaller or larger, I can adjust as desired, or I could give them, if they didn't like the taste, I could do a little less and maybe do it more often. So I would be putting that maybe third dropper full in a little bit of water, having the child or myself drink it before a meal or during or after, right around the time when my body's going to be needing to digest something. I'm going to stress again that I am not a doctor. Please don't take this as medical advice. This is just what we are doing to help improve our health. It's something we're learning about, and as we figure out what works for one person may not work as well for another. So you just got to kind of figure out what works best for you. And always, if there's any problems or any concerns, talk to a doctor, talk to your specialist, talk to whoever you trust in that regard. So let's get started. So there are some ingredients that I'm putting in my jar, my giant mason jar. Let's start with this. I've already got in here some orange peel, and I'm adding a little bit more. And I'm tearing it up a little bit because any kind of cutting, tearing, you're increasing surface area, which is more area for the alcohol and water to extract things. So more surface area is good. Like I said, I did not dehydrate this. You can dehydrate it. It still works great, and it would be adding a little less moisture. It's not a huge deal because I'm using 40% alcohol and I'm not too worried about it. Don't overthink it. Don't make this a crazy science experiment. It's not that complicated. People have been doing it for a long time. So orange peels, they provide a dietary fiber. Citrus peels in general have been used for digestive health and improving digestion for centuries. This is something that's easy to get your hands on. I did wash the orange before I peeled it with a little bit of soap and water and rinsed it really well, because sometimes if you buy it at the grocery store, they will put like a waxy coating on it to keep it looking nice, and I don't want that. So I cleaned it really well, dried it, and then peeled it. Cut the peel, put it in here. Don't overthink it. Then I've got cinnamon, and I just used sticks of cinnamon. So you can, again, break it up to increase surface area, or just plop them in. I've already got some in there. Cinnamon, besides tasting amazing, cinnamon is my favorite, it also helps reduce inflammation in the gut. It's good for a lot of other things, but just speaking of digestion, it does help reduce inflammation in the gut, which is very helpful for everything working the way it's supposed to. And then I'm gonna talk for just a second about star anise, because it can be a little controversial. I'm going to reiterate that I am not a doctor. Please look into anything you ever try to use for yourself. Star anise has been used in Chinese medicine for, a really long time. But they used to make a star anise tea, just steep it in water and give it to babies, like newborn infants, if they had gas or colic. And then there was a problem because there's another variety, a Japanese variety, that looks really similar but caused some problems when they gave the babies tea. Now this is talking about infants. It's talking about a concentrated tea that you're giving to them. So I would be careful with the star anise. If you're not sure about it, just leave it out. I'm not too worried of putting a little bit of it in here because there are some really great benefits. And it is a tincture. I'm not giving it to any babies, and I'm doing this at my own risk. So star anise, so it was traditionally used to relieve like bloating, any kind of digestive pain, indigestion, all those kind of things. Really beneficial and a great plant, smells nice, and I had some on here, so I threw a few of those in there. Another thing that is also often used for babies is fennel seed, very safe. And I'm going to give even that a caveat when I say very safe. There are a lot of herbs and plants and all kinds of very awesome natural things that you will find warnings about if you Google or if you do some searching and digging. Because often when they test certain things, herbal remedies, things like that, what they will do is take a highly, highly concentrated dosage, give it to a mouse or a rat or something in high doses, high concentrations over a long period of time, and be like, oh no, this caused liver damage. Well, yeah, don't do that. Don't have it be the only thing you eat or drink in high concentrations over a long period of time. So, saying this is safe, obviously, if you sat and ate the whole bag, maybe it might do something not great. But people have been using fennel seed for colicky babies. If you've ever bought gripe water for your baby, it's probably had some fennel seed in it, depending on the brand. But it does great things for bloat, for gas, things like that. And it is a seed, so it has a little bit of the oil in it, and just all kinds of beneficial things. And I guess in many places, they actually keep fennel seeds on hand, and they will just eat a few of them after their meal to help improve digestion and reduce gas and bloating. So these are really handy, and I happen to have some also. So I put some of that in there. I'm going to add a little bit more. I am not doing any exact measurements. This is just my style. There are recipes you can find online for all sorts of things, and you can get exact measurements if you're concerned about that. I just figure if I leave it longer, it's going to be stronger, and if I put more in it, it's going to be stronger, and things like that. And it's just there's no way to precisely do all of this stuff because I'm gathering things, from the ground, and there's just no precise way to measure all of that. It's going to be different nutritionally based on when it was harvested, where it was harvested. There's just so many variables. So my choice is to not overthink it. My next ingredient that I'm going to talk to you about is dandelion root. And here is our digestive bitters, and actually orange peels are also. But digestive bitters, and they help with liver health, which is involved in digestion as well. as you learn more about the health of your body and trying to maintain it, you will find that a lot of systems are connected. So helping one often helps another. The liver and digestion are connected for sure. So I went outside, I found some dandelions. This is not the time of year where I'm going to see a lot of dandelions blooming. This is midsummer. There are a few, but it's not like earlier in the spring where they were everywhere. You were seeing those yellow dandelions pop up. There are a few here and there, but the leaves are really easy to detect if you've ever looked around dandelions. They have the long, thinner leaves that have pointed triangular edges on each side and a deep taproot. So if you've ever been pulling them out of your garden, in your flower beds and things like that, you know that if you just grab it and pull, you're probably just going to get the top of the plant and that root is going to stay in there and grow a new plant. So what you're going to want to do to harvest the dandelion root is to dig close to it and make sure that you really get the soil loose before you grab the whole plant and pull. And you hear that popping of all the small root particles coming loose from the soil, and that's a good sign. You pop that thing right out of there. And you're going to want to do this on a day when it's not been super dry for a long time, because that can cause the soil to be really hard, at least where I live. And you don't want to go out necessarily when it's super muddy. So find a good time to go harvest your dandelion root. And then you're going to want to knock off as much of the dirt as you can and bring it in and really give it a good cleaning. I washed these. I cut off the tops. So the dandelion greens are also a bitter. You could use that in your tincture if you wanted. I've seen people have done that. You could also make a salad with those, or include them in a salad. You can do what we're doing and give them to your chickens. So here they are in the chicken bowl. But then I took the root apart enough to get it a good clean, and I set it on a towel to dry for a little while. Now this next part you're not going to want to do until you're ready to use it. I do want to cut up this root because, like I said before, the more surface area, the more chance that vodka, the alcohol, and the water have to extract all the things we want from these roots. These roots are a digestive bitter and a liver support. Like I said, this is a big part of our tincture and what I want to be in here. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting, and there's no specific way to do this that is right or wrong. Some people really grind it up. Some people just cut it into manageable chunks and get it in the jar, and either way is fine. I'm just going to give it a good chop to make it manageable and increase surface area. I'm not worried about if they're all the same size or anything. You do want to just go ahead and leave all of those little strands, all of the pieces on the root after you've washed the dirt off. Don't necessarily want dirt in our tincture. I'm not overly stressed about that either, but I did give it a pretty thorough cleaning, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just gonna give it a good chop, and then I'm gonna set all of this in my jar. You could, if you don't have quite as high a proof of vodka, you could dehydrate this for a time. You could put it in, cut it up, or you could put it in a dehydrator. I would not cut it up like that until you're ready to use it, though, because once you've exposed it to oxygen, it's going to start diminishing in its all of those compounds, all the nutrition, all the things that we want to happen in here. So I've got my orange peel, I've got a little bit of star anise, I've got fennel seed, I've got cinnamon, and I have my dandelion root. I'm going to fill this jar the rest of the way up with vodka. It's perfectly okay to use a smaller jar, and that probably is more manageable anyway. So I just know I have a lot of dropper bottles, so I'm going to leave them in here in the vodka for 6 to 8 weeks. Be shaking it occasionally, and then I'm going to strain all of the stuff back out, and the vodka will have all of those compounds extracted into it. and I will be, after I strain it, putting them in individual dropper bottles that are amber colored, so it helps keep sunlight and things like that, and the lid tightened tight on it, so it just kind of helps the shelf life. But let's go ahead and put some vodka in there. And I might add some more dandelion root or oranges now that I see how low this all is. Almost the whole bottle. I like making it in large amounts because I know the shelf life is very long. Depending on where you read, good for 2+ years, good for 3 to 5 years, it's good for an unlimited amount of time, just depends on what you're reading. Use common sense, as with all of this, use common sense when it comes to, oh wow, this is looking cloudy, this is looking discolored, this is looking, smelling different. You know, throw it out, make something new or buy something new. But I will say there are some compounds in the root, the dandelion root and some other roots that can separate and leave kind of a film on the bottom until you shake it up, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's gone bad. Just something to watch for and look into if you see that. So this is not an exact science. You are extracting whatever you've put in here. You're going to be extracting the benefits of those plants into your tincture. Use what you've got, what you have on hand. There are a lot of other things that I could have included or didn't. There are so many things out of your door that are useful and that are beneficial and that you could be using in place of a lot of other things. This is not a medicine. It is not to treat anything, and this is just to improve our digestive health, which is a big deal. It's a big deal. Another thing you're going to want to make sure to do is label it. Always, always, always label your tincture, whatever you've created, because the worst thing is to find something in the cabinet and you don't know what it is, and you put all this work and money and time into and you can't even use it. I just use like masking tape and a marker, and I'll put it on the actual jar in case for some reason lids get swapped. You want to put all the ingredients, including the alcohol, whatever you've used, and the date that you created it. So why would I make this tincture instead of buying something? Well, just so happened I have a lot of this stuff already on hand or could find it. But there are some really great sites that sell some really great things. You can buy a little dropper bottle of Digestive Bitters tincture. I can share some links. I'm not affiliated with any of them, but I know some really great sites that offer some great things. If you don't have time, you don't have the stuff, and it's not affordable. It's not more affordable to do this if you don't already have some of this stuff, or you're not going to be making it in bulk. It would cost me a lot what I'm going to be making if I bought that much of it. And because I have had stuff either given to me or I've collected or I already had on hand, this is more affordable for me. So if it's not for you, go buy some really great stuff and try it out. If you are like me and you just want to make it yourself, I'd love to hear about your experiences, how it's gone for you, what you've tried, what's worked, how it's helped or not helped. I'd love to hear about your experiences, and we will keep you updated on how it goes for us. But here it is, Digestive Bitter Tincture. And here it will be for 6 to 8 weeks. I do want to say another thing to mention is the lid. I'm using a plastic lid. A lot of canning lids are metal, and the alcohol will react with it, and you'll end up with things in your tincture. So if you have metal lids, you can take a piece of parchment paper and put it down before you screw your lid on. And alcohol can react with some plastic over a long period of time. Because the plastic is not touching the alcohol all the time, I'm really not worried about it. And this is how I've done all my tinctures. But if you're concerned about that, in either case, you can use a piece of parchment paper. You will want to store this in a room temperature, not sunny area, maybe on a shelf or something, but somewhere where you will remember to take it out and shake it every now and then. Just as often as you do, it's gonna mix up so the alcohol is touching more of the material, and it's not just touching what's settled. Digestive bitters, the new gut health craze, or not so new.